Hi and welcome to Music and Gear. This is our third video on repairing a Schecter research guitar. In this video we're going over crowning the frets, sanding and prepping the frets, and also polishing the frets. Oh, and we take care of fret sprout and we re-chamfer the side of the frets. So since we're fixing fret sprout and we're redoing the chamfer, we also have to redo the end dressing on the frets. Everything is shown in this video. I get it. It's an hour and 45-minute video. But if you want to know how to crown, chamfer, fix fret sprout, or end dress a fret or polish a fret, it's in this video. The only thing I've done in certain sections, I have sped the video up so it's not 6 hours long. Anyway, if you haven't already, please go down, hit the like button, consider subscribing. If I haven't earned your subscription yet, hopefully by the time you reach the end of this video, you'll go down, hit the like button, and also consider subscribing. Okay. Now these frets are level to here with a slight fall off down to the 24th fret. So now we're ready to mark the frets and start doing our crowning work. So I'm going to remark the frets again. All right, let me get my file. So the Fret Guru file is the file I've been using for a very long time. This is my second one. Now this is a non-diamond embedded file, like this file. I just picked up the Music Nomad file. So I want to kind of look at the radius here and see what we got. All right. It says wide, narrow, medium. So we're going to go to wide. And I'm just going to lightly hit this fret. I want to see what that tool is doing. In relation to my old file. I think that Sharpie's just about dead. So I'm going to take my Fret Guru, and I want to see what this file does in relation to the new one. So I can see where this one's cutting through, and it is definitely a different radius than the new file. So that's wide. Let's try medium narrow. So basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get this stripe the exact same width all the way across. We took a lot off these frets because they were pretty well used. So I want to make sure that I'm getting the proper crown. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to go back to my fret guru, clean up that side edge. I'm going to pick a dry spot on my rag. I don't want to use the alcohol because it'll take the black line off. That's about it for that one. And we're going to repeat that process all the way up the neck. Wherever I was just at, it's about 2 or 3 days later. Now I'm going to get back to crowning these frets. And I have been using my new tool a little bit. It's okay. What I do find that I do like my Fret Guru just a little bit better, but I've started out doing this as my first pass, so I'm going to continue using my new file on the first pass and do the cleanup work with the old file. So I'm going to use the wide and then go to medium narrow. That way we get a nice ellipse on the frets. And where we left off was right here. For you, it was about 5 seconds. For me, 2 or 3 days. So I'm going to start out again, and I'm going to go right to this fret because we're not quite done with this fret. I'm going to flip it around and see what this side does. So what I'm looking for is the line right here. I want to use this file until this line gets thin like these. I don't want it too thin because I'm coming back with this file. So I'm going to leave about a 1/16, just a fraction under a 1/16 of an inch. And then we'll go back and hit it with the other file. I want to make sure that this line stays consistent across here. I don't want it really wide here and really thin here. That means that you're not filing the fret evenly. So I want this line to stay consistent all the way across. Like right here, you can see it's getting a little thin. Okay, so that means I do not need to work right here. I need to concentrate more in the center. I'm going to stop, I'm going to wipe the fret off, and I'm going to look at it. And I want it to be consistent to the other frets that I've already done. So hopefully we can see that here. I'm going to move it back and forth because sometimes I really can't tell how the camera's going to pick it up. But I want that black line to be consistent across the fret. So I'm going to move to the next fret. And again, I'm looking for consistency. And I'm going to go back and hit that shoulder. and that was using the narrow. So basically the wide is coming across, and when I flip the fret file over, it's coming in and it's catching this edge right here between the fretboard and the top of the fret. So it's actually cutting only right here on the side. When I use the wide, it's cutting more towards the center top, but I don't want to cut too much. I want to leave this line on top of the fret. So I'm cutting here and then on the side right here as I move the tool back and forth. So essentially what I'm doing on this pass, I'm using the overhead light here, and I'm making sure that it's shining on the fret right here. I'm watching the file. So as I move back and forth, I should see a sheen difference on the side of the fret. The top of the fret near the black line has already been hit. Right here on the side, it's still dull. So as I move back and forth, I can see the sanding mark coming around the side of the fret. I'm also paying attention to the top of the fret. I do not want to get into this black line. So I'm using this, I'm just going back and forth until I see that edge disappear. So essentially what we're doing is this is the top of the fret, we're actually sanding right, or filing right here. We've already filed here and here. Now we're trying to get the side. So that's all I'm going to do with this file. Now I'm going to go back with my Fret Guru. This is my favorite file as of right now. And I like the radius that it creates. So we're going to go back and clean it up. We're very, very close using the 2 profiles on that one. Now I'm going to go back and clean it up. If you hear, you can already hear a difference in this file. This file goes all the way down. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to hit the very side of these frets. Then I'll flip it over and do the cleanup with the other edge. Okay, now I'm going to go through with the fret rocker. I want to double check my work. I'm just going to go through real quick. And we're still good, which it should be still good, because we still have a black line all the way across all these frets. But the light can sometimes play tricks on you, and each time you wipe it off like this, sometimes it'll kind of disappear, but I can still see it. But I still like to go back and just verify that it's right. Alright, our next step is going to be to wipe this thing down, and I'm going to remark all the frets again so I can double check my work. Like I just said, my line's disappearing. So I want to clean the neck, keep your work clean, remark the frets, and I'll continue to get these frets shaped to the right crown. Okay, our next step is to actually clean up the fretboard a little bit. Try to keep our work as clean as we possibly can. There are some shavings on the neck, so I'm just going to wipe it down. And this is just a little bit of Windex. You can use anything you want, just something that the shavings will stick to. The neck is taped off, so you don't have to worry about the Windex getting into the fingerboard. I just found that Windex, 1, it's inexpensive. 2, it works pretty good on getting the Sharpie mark off the frets. And the metal does seem to bond to it quite well when you're wiping it down. I'm going to do a little wipe right here. You can see how that kind of sticks. Alright, now I'm going to take the dry spot and again just wipe it down a little bit. Now that we've got it kind of roughed in, we know that these are level. We're going to go through and we're going to address some of this side on these frets. Just a little bit of fret sprout. About right there. You can put it all the way down in the route, but I find if you leave it off the route right here just a little bit, try to keep this even to the tool, and now we want to kind of look at it and see how far it's hanging down to the fret edge itself. Because in this case, none of your radiuses are the same. Like this block, I don't know what the Music Nomad is actually set at, but let's say you got a 16-inch radius, 18-inch radius, a 7-inch radius. So this block right here isn't necessarily going to set true to the fingerboard in every instant. So there is going to be a little bit of side-to-side play if you're running, let's say, like maybe a 7.5 radius, like on an old Fender, or you have something extremely flat, like a shred neck that's like 20. It's going to be more noticeable with more radius, like a 7.5-inch radius. The tool is going to want to rock more on the neck. The flatter the radius, it's going to ride here, and it's not going to want to rock. So the only time I've ever really had a problem with this particular tool is 7.5s, and you'll notice a little bit on a 9.5 radius. 12s and 14s, I really can't feel it rocking, if that makes sense. I'm pretty sure this is probably a 12 or a 14-inch cut radius on this. Now, I do have some other blocks in my toolbox that are set up when I pull frets that I apply sandpaper here, and they're set radiuses, 12, 14, 16, 17, 18, 7.5. But in this case, unless you have a tremendous amount of money, Music Nomad's got this pretty well set, unless you're doing, like I said, a 7.5 radius. So we're going to run this back and forth on the neck just a little bit, just to take care of those end pieces, because we are technically set at 90 degrees. Now I want to look at my file. I am hitting tape, and I can see just a little bit on some of these frets, and that's what I was expecting to see. But I'm looking at the tape, like I'm hitting tape right here, but I'm hitting frets up here. So I want to concentrate more up here, and I want to look at that tape, and I want that spot, see this right here? I want that to look consistent all the way up the neck. That way I'm filing on this tape about the same amount. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to clean the file a little bit. And we're going to concentrate a little bit more up top. And I'm pushing this way to me. Well, I'm pushing this way and a little bit this direction because I want to keep the tool flat on the frets. So I'm doing a little bit of both. Unlike when I was leveling the frets, letting the weight of the tool do the work, I am applying just a little bit of pressure. And you can also feel when it's hitting the fret. And I'm seeing it hit the tape, 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 all the way down. So I'm going to say that's good for that side. And we want to repeat the process for this side. Again, check your file. Make sure there's no little spots on the file. Like you can see, there's a little piece of tape right there. And that one's being stubborn. Now repeat the process. And I'm trying to do even, smooth strokes. And like again, I'm pressing this direction. I want to keep the tool flat on our recently crowned and leveled frets, because that's the only reference we have since there are frets on the guitar. That's why I like doing it after I do the crown and leveling. I'm hearing it more through there, so I want to double check it. Yep, I'm hitting tape all through here. So a little bit right there. Double check our ends. That looks good. So now what I want to do, I want to take the file out and put it on our angle, and that's going to do the chamfer on the side of the fret. Then after that, we can dress the fret. And make sure you run the screws in when you take the file out. That way they don't vibrate out and fall out as you're using the tool. And again, I'm going to put the aggressive side in. It'll lift it up just a little bit. I'm going to double check and make sure the file's even. Now we're looking at this edge of the fret, the flat spot in the fret right here. That's what we're addressing next. And this particular tool, I believe, is 31 degrees. And I can see it hitting the side. You want to do that lightly. Every company kind of has their own chamfering scale. So unless you have a bunch of these with different, angles, you need to do it a couple times. See if it's just hitting the top of the fret or the bottom of the fret, and then you can adjust your tool. This is the only one I have because this is the most commonly used, if that makes sense. All in all, that doesn't look too bad. Let's do this side. And I can see they're all shiny right here. And I'm using the light above and I'm getting it to shine so I can see if there's any dull spots that haven't been hit. And there's just a ever so slight spot from the very end right here in the fret. Right above that there's a slight dull spot, and then it's shiny about 75%, maybe even 80%, because I have about a 10% stripe where we cut for a fret sprout on the very end. And that's about as far as I want to go. Remember, we don't want to cut the frets too much. We've already done a lot of work to these frets because they were so chewed up from years and years of playing. These are nickel frets, so they're not stainless steel. So they were showing quite a bit of wear. So we actually had to take, well, actually quite a bit off the frets to get them all even with themselves, considering the fret wear that was on it. So I'm going to leave it at that point, and I'm going to take my tool. I'm going to take this one out. I'm going to take my tool back over there. And it'll be ready for the next time that I need it. Okay, our next step is this guy right here. Now there are two sides to this file. I have two of these. This one is I think this is my newer one. My older one I don't believe has this round spot right here. So I have two. I have an older StewMac and a newer one. I didn't buy the new one because the old one wore out. This one here is about 2 years old. The other one's about 10 years old. And they both still work just fine. But what you want to pay attention to is on this one, there's a crown to the file. So this crown will not cut. Okay, it's crowned. This side of the file is square. So you can cut right down to the square when you roll it. When you use this side, it's easier to get on the fretboard, the side with the crown, and roll the tool, okay? Roll the tool like this. And since it's crowned and smooth here, it does not cut into the neck of the guitar. This is something you just got to practice. You'll eventually get a rhythm, I guess you could call it, as you do the detail work on the fret. Some people use a big magnifying glass. I've tried that, but a lot of times after I use the magnifying glass, my eyes have a hard time readjusting, and it gives me a headache. There are advantages to using the magnifying glass. I think you probably get a more consistent, because you're zoomed in, you're seeing it at a larger scale. But I've done this so much, and I don't want the headache afterwards, that I just use line of sight. And like I said, I'm using the light, and I'm looking for that sheen across the edge of the fret. So I'll kind of show you how I do it with this camera right here. So I'm going to set forward. I'm trying to look at the camera, get a really good angle on this. I'm going to double check and make sure I'm on the bullnose side. I'm going to lay the file just like this. I'm going to take this finger, and I'm using this to guide the file back here. That doesn't mean I'm perfect. I may adjust it. I'm going to find the sweet spot. And I'm going to take the file, and as I move the file, I'm going to roll it across the fret like that. And it doesn't take much. All we're trying to do is break that edge. You're not trying to do a bullnose, a ball end fret. We're just trying to eliminate that sharp corner from chamfering the edge of that fret. Now, I like working that direction, so I'm going to take the neck and I'm going to turn it. And here we're going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to come in, I'm going to roll it like that. It's more aggressive in this fashion. So I usually only do 2 going this direction because I can feel the file cutting more. That one we're going to give 1 more. And I'm looking at it, guys. I'm paying attention to the light. So I'm going to move this back and forth to where my overhead light, the shine, is right on this corner right here. That's where I want it. I want that shine, the sheen, as I move this back and forth, there'll be a sheen mark wherever that is in the camera. I want that sheen mark to be right where I'm working. That way I get a good idea of what I'm doing. And I'm paying attention to that sheen. And I can see, like right there, I got to get a little bit right there. And you can also, guys, you can come in and just do it this way. There's nothing wrong with coming in and just looking at the sheen and double checking it. Going in like this. The only issue with this is you may end up with like small concaves. But if you feel more comfortable doing that, get majority of the work done that way and then come in and do your roll. Just like that. Because remember, we're still not done with these. We're going to polish these frets. And when we come across, that's going to hit it, and then we're going to hit the ends of them. So that polishing is going to take out some of that. It's not going to take it all out, so you got to get it close. This is called the rough work. And I know I just said rough work, but the rough work is the most important side. If you can't get this part right, there's no way you can polish it and fix it, if that makes sense. So I'm going through and just looking at them. And now I'm going to go to the square side. And I just want to come in here and hit the very bottom of the fret, right at the square side. And I'm keeping that flat against the neck. Just lightly hitting the fret. And I'm keeping the angle of attack the same. Angle this way is the same, and the angle this way I try to keep consistent. So that's one side finished as far as our file. So now I'm going to go down through here and I'm going to hit this side, and I want to feel the difference. I'm looking at it. This is the side we just did, and this is our chamfered side. And again, I'm using the light above. And I do see a little bit of variation in them now that I'm holding it like this. So I'm going to go back and just kind of clean it up a little bit. So again, I'm going to look at the sheen. This one right here. Now again, I'm checking the sheen. And basically what I'm looking for, pretend you're looking at the moon and you see a crescent moon, I guess that's what they call it, where the moon is just a sliver, goes like this. That's what I want to see right here on the edge. I want to see that moon shape, just like that, a shine that looks like the moon. That means I've chamfered this. See, this is already a chamfer on the fret. Now I'm coming back and I want to put another chamfer coming around and following that radius like this around that primary chamfer. When I go to polish it, well, first we're going to lightly hit this with 1200 sandpaper. So that's going to put a little bit more of an easing on it, and then we polish it, it's going to give it a nice ease right into that chamfer part of that fret. It makes for a very smooth, very nice feeling fret. Does it take a little bit more time? Sure, anything worth doing is worth doing. If you're going to do this, do it right. Do the best job you can possibly do. The guitar's apart. Now's the time not to rush. Just take your time. It's fun working on guitars. There's nothing difficult about it once someone shows you the basics. Are you going to sit and do what I just did, taking the neck and moving the neck as you work the tool? Maybe that's not for you, okay? But there are instances where I'll move the neck, okay? Maybe it's not as comfortable for me to raise my elbow and roll the tool around. So I can move the neck and get that angle on the tool by changing the neck. And it's about consistency. Everything you do needs to be replicated on every fret. The more consistent you can move the tool across the fret, the more consistent your fretwork's going to be. And don't be frustrated. I've done, I don't know, thousands of guitars. And the first couple I did were kind of rough. And each guitar got a little better and a little better and a little better. And you'll find yourself doing that. Fret dressing, this right here, 99% of the time what you feel on the edge of your frets when you're feeling it, that's the dressing. Okay, the frets should be somewhat level and decent from the factory. They usually skimp on all this handwork in the fret. So if you can get good at this, you can really make your budget guitar or your $500 or $600 guitar or even your $1,200 guitar play like a $5,000 or $6,000 guitar, because this is what costs money, having a tech sit here and do this repetitional work on the frets. All right, for you guys it'll be like 10 seconds. For me, I'm going to take a 30-minute break. When we come back, we'll do this side. Okay, I'm back. It wasn't just a 15 or 20-minute break. It's actually the following day. But again, for you guys, it was just a couple seconds. So we're going to go ahead and finish this side of the frets. Again, I have my StewMac end dressing file. We're going to do the exact same thing we did on this side to this side. And again, I'm starting with the file that has the ellipse on it, the radius, and this side is smooth. Okay, that's going to do it for our end dressing with our file. So now what I want to do is I want to go over and grab some 1200 grit sandpaper, and I'm going to now start prepping before we do our polish work on these frets. At this point, it's very important to double check our work. Let's make sure the end dressing is right. This is our second step on getting these frets proper. Our last step, of course, is polishing. So the polishing should be taking the minimum amount of material off the frets as possible. So this next step, again, just takes us one step closer to polishing. Right now, they're still pretty rough. So let me get some sandpaper and we'll do the second step. Now, what I like doing, I like coming across the edge of the fret, and that's going to take out the marks that we just put on it this way. Okay, so I'm just going to lightly, with my fingers like this, come across the frets. And that's hitting both sides of the fret. It's hitting this side and this side. And I want to roll the paper back and forth. I also want to hit that end from the fret sprout. And now I want to lightly go over the top of the fret. And again, I'm rolling the neck right down to where we had that fret sprout. And you can see this is 1200, so it's already cut way into it. So I'm going to go to a fresh section of the sandpaper and then work from this direction back over to the other side. And you're going to feel it. It's going to start getting really, really smooth. Now this paper, just in that little bit of time, it's down to maybe a 2500 grit. So now I'm going to fold it. I don't want to use a new piece here. My first pass, I just want to kind of do some light cleaning up back and forth. We're really not trying to do too much other than clean up at this point. So if I can get away with using this worn out piece here, it'll actually save me a step. So what I'm doing here is I'm putting the paper on the edge of the fret, and I want to roll that over onto our crown. And I'm not staying too long on the crown, I'm coming right off. It's more about the side of the fret. Now I'm going to move the paper again. Now if you get used to doing a lot of stainless steel frets, remember these are nickel. So the nickel frets will tool and work much quicker than a stainless steel fret. So always keep in mind the material that you're working with. Not saying nickel is soft, you know, you still got to work at it to cut and get the fret out of whack. But a stainless steel fret you can work on a little more. It's much harder. So you don't want to sit and spend a lot of time doing this like you're doing a stainless steel. You can end up taking too much off the fret. And we are going to go back and fret level these before we move to the next step. Remember, double check your work. And I'm going to move my paper again. And you can see right here and right here. See those two little black dots? That's where I stopped on my fret level. Those two little dots is fret wear. Now, should I have sanded that 100% out? It is so close, okay? I mean, it is so close. I know that I'm filing the frets. I know I'm doing this, and I know I'm polishing the frets. So I stopped right before that wear line because I know I've got to go back and do all this. My hopes was by the time I was completely finished, that would be worked out in the finishing stages. If it's not, and I still see it, that means I need to go back and just do a little bit more touch up on the level. But again, right here and right here, there's two little teeny weeny black dots. When I say they're small, I don't even think the camera's going to pick up on them. That was fret wear, and it was really bad. I deliberately stopped right there again because we're going back over it. Each pass removes a little bit of material. I want to maximize how much fret is left on this guitar. Even though the frets were really bad, I don't want to cut his frets down lower than they needed to be cut. I want to minimize how much material I'm taking off the frets. And again, right here, I see, now I'm using the light. Most people probably wouldn't see that. I see a slight dot right there. And that is just a little bit of fret wear that is still on the fret. And right here, I have a bad spot. This is a tooling mark from the file, from this file. I can see it. So I'm going to go back with my end dressing file, and I just want to clean that up just a little bit. Doesn't take much. There, it's disappeared. And if you can't tell, my neighbor has decided to cut his grass. Like I said, I'm concentrating more on our ellipse where we use two different radius fret files. I want to concentrate right in between where those two files were cutting to kind of blend that in a little bit. I don't want to see that line there where it switches radiuses. Now I'm going to go back and even pressure here, guys, because you're going across the top of the fret. I'm using the center of my finger. I'm coming across and back. But big thing, keep even pressure, because now you're affecting your fret level. Even though that this is worn out 1200, it's probably like 3000 grit now. I want to make sure that I keep the pressure even. And I'm feeling the paper and I guess the friction behind it. And when I feel it become friction free, I know I've done the job, and I move to the next fret. I'm going to switch the paper. Now I'm just going to kind of come across like this, really lightly. And I still see tooling marks right in here. And that might be a bit excessive for our polishing to take care of. Right in here, right in here, right in here, right in here. So it seems the very edge of the fret needs a little bit more work. Could you get that out with polishing? Maybe. But why take the chance? You're still at this point. Grab another piece of sandpaper. Repeat the process on the side of the frets. Get that finish extremely consistent. That way when you do polish the frets, you're going to end up with a very consistent sheen on that fret. A very consistent feel across the fretboard. And we'll do that when we come right back. Again, for you, 5 seconds. For me, probably 20 minutes. Okay, now I want to go back through and resolve some of the issues that I saw on the side of the frets. So I am going to take a new piece of sandpaper. I'm just going to cut a little piece off. And this time, instead of folding it long ways, I'm going to fold it edgeways. And all we're doing is touching up the side of the fret. And these are tooling marks right here on the side of the fret. And that's from changing the radius on top of the fret. So there's a little ridge where it changes the radius between these two files. We're not trying to get into the top of the fret. We're just going over the side of the fret. And again, I'm going to use the light, and right here I see a tooling mark. And that's what we're trying to do. We're just going back over and looking for any tooling marks that I feel will not come out in the polishing stage. I got that one. A little spot right there. And I'm using a light and I'm shining it back and forth on the fret. This one's really good. And a little spot right there. And a little spot on the other side right there. And I just rolled the paper over to the other side. This fret here isn't as good. So this one needs a little bit more attention. And I see a pretty good spot right there. Now again, I'm going to run back over the edge of the frets. And I'm just lightly going over the edge. You could tell because the paper just slipped out of my hand. Now I'm going to do little circles. Now I want to wipe down the fingerboard. I want to get it good and clean. So I am looking for my paper towels. And again, just a little Windex. Now before you start throwing stuff at the screen, it's well taped off. This Windex does not have ammonia in it. Remember, we're just trying to keep the debris out from underneath the tape. Trying to keep our work clean, clean, clean. And if you've been watching the video, each pass we take less and less material off. And we can see that just by looking at our rag. Because remember last time it was quite dirty just doing part of it. So let's get a close-up view. That's what our end frets look like. And flip the neck over. All right, so now that we're at this point, I definitely want to go back and double check our work. We've done a lot of sanding on the frets, taking them from the file stage to the pre-polish stage. We want to check our work. Now we checked it after we did the crowning, but now I want to check it after I've done the sides and a slight sanding on the top. Now's the time to go back and correct any issues that we may have created doing that step. So I'll go into squirrel mode and I'm going to check the frets one last time before polishing. And notice I'm going right to the very edge of the fret. I want to make sure that I'm right all the way to the edge because we chamfered that edge. right on the very edge of that fret. Now I'm going to go back one. It's way out on the edge. Right there. So it's on the very tip of that fret. Now it's good. Most people wouldn't have fixed that because that's actually part of the chamfer. By the time the string gets to that point, you're rolling the string off the fret anyway. But I do like to make sure that spot is correct as well. That's why you see me rolling the tool over onto the chamfer to make sure that chamfer is consistent. We're 100%. So I'm going to throw my scrap away. And we're going to get ready to do some polish work. Okay, now we're moving on to the last phase of doing these frets. I have my Dremel tool up here hanging. I have put a new polishing wheel on it. And we're starting out with red compound. We will finish this guitar off with blue, but the red cuts a little more. So we're going to start with the red. And right now, this is quite noisy. So I'm going to edit this out as far as the volume. I'm going to decrease the volume of the audio while I'm working on the Dremel. But what we want to do, okay, we do not want to keep this tool in one spot on the fret. So as I'm working, you're going to notice I'm going to come across and then back. And that's it. I'm going to go to the next fret, come across, go back, across and go back. Now you've got an angle on the tool. So you're polishing this edge of the fret more than this edge. So it's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, And then we're going to flip the neck around to where the tool approaches the neck in this direction. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then we're also going to polish the fret ends. We do that to keep it consistent. Even though you're coming in here, you can technically get this side of the fret. The tool is naturally pitched getting this side of the fret. So it's easier just to flip the neck around, then polish this side of the fret. The top is going to get 2 passes, but it's not a direct pass. It'll be fine. That's how I've always done it, and you get super nice frets. Just wanted to go over how I approach polishing frets. So I'm going to turn on the Dremel now, and we're going to start the polishing process. And this pad has started to break free. And it's a brand new pad. I think I got a defective one. Let me grab another one. And yes, it does make a mess. So that's going to finish up our red. So now I'm going to grab our blue compound. So here's my blue compound. And yes, I understand that this is contaminated with the red. You don't necessarily have to switch it. Should you shift it? Yeah, but after you go 2 or 3 dips into the blue, most of the red's out anyway, and I always do 2 passes on everything. So we can use the red and just understand that it is a mix for the first couple passes. So no, we're going to again start with the blue, exact same thing that we did with the red. Excuse me. Now I'm going to take my rag and I'm going to clean these up. Can you say shiny? Beautiful frets. When I look at the end dressings now, I see a nice halo, almost like the moon shape that we talked about earlier. When the light hits it, I see that moon shape on every one of these end frets. Very consistent. Let's look at this side. Again, extremely consistent. Remember, we went and checked all that, even the very edge, with the fret rocker to make sure we were in line and consistent. Even the secondary chamfer was checked. If you do that, when the light hits the frets, right here, you'll get these little half moons all the way down your fretwork. That's another way of telling a true custom guitar. How much time did they actually spend on your frets? Take your guitar in the light and look at that fret end. If you see just a chamfer, okay, and you don't really feel a sharp spot, but then when you put it in the light, if you don't see that half moon and it doesn't follow, that half moon has to follow into that fret. Okay, I still see the half moon. There it disappears because the sheen now is up here. But as soon as I roll it and I see that half moon, it should roll down that chamfer and extend. And then the chamfer should light up. And as you roll here, all you should see is the edge of that fret from the sheen, from the light. You should just see a straight line. Right here, you should see the chamfer of the fret, and then it should start arcing, almost like a straight line, and then it should arc into that moon shape, and then the top of the moon shape should highlight into the top of the fret. It's kind of hard for me to describe, so I don't know if this is gonna show up. Let me try this side because of the tape. If you look at it just in the light, I'm going to move slow. We're going to roll through it. And hopefully that's showing up on the camera as I'm describing it. I'll change the angle a little bit. These frets turned out extremely nice, especially since there was a tremendous amount of fret wear on these frets. This is the kind of fretwork that you only really expect to see on, let's say, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 guitars. It takes a tremendous amount of time to do this, but if you're doing the work yourself, it's only your time. Why not take the time and really get your frets to this level? Okay, that's going to conclude this video on doing crown work, end dressing work, sanding your frets, and polishing your frets. If you would have done something maybe a little different, maybe you've got a different approach, that's what the comment section is down below. I learn every day of my life. If I don't feel like I've learned something while I was working that day, it's almost a letdown. And I learned so much from the comments in the chat section below. My viewers are always really good on comments. You know, they're constructive comments. That's what this channel's about. We're not here to talk about right or wrong. We're here to discuss how many different ways there are of doing this. Some ways might be better to do on certain kinds of guitars, okay? Or you may be left-handed, and you're going to put a comment down, well, I'm left-handed, so I have to twist the neck a certain way. Those are the kind of comments that I feel are constructive. And that's what this channel's about. It's about constructive information that's going to help others. And if you see something that you feel you would have done differently on this particular neck, great. I'm all about learning. That's what it's about. In our next video, we are going to take the back of this neck and we're going to start reshaping this neck. Okay? We're going to shape it down to an Ibanez Wizard style neck. And we are also going to fix this little chip that's in the headstock. And that video should be out in about a week. We'll say 7 to 10 days. And if you haven't already, it takes a tremendous amount of time for me to do these videos, these highly detailed videos. I want to show every aspect of this job. That way, if you are considering doing the work, you have a good idea of how much work it is to do a fret job to this level, okay? That's why I only speed up the videos, okay? I only go into squirrel mode. I'm not editing anything out. If I made a mistake, you're going to see that mistake and you're going to see that correction. That's how you learn. Not everyone goes through a job without making a mistake. The issue with making a mistake is, can you fix it? That's where we learn. I have learned more from messing something up and having to fix it than to being 100%, oh, no mistakes, no mistakes, no mistakes. You have to be creative. And those type comments and that creativity that people can share down below, that's what it's about. But anyway, I was talking about subscribing. Hopefully I've earned your subscription. There are a ton of videos on this channel. As of this video, I think we're up to 122 or 124 videos, from guitar reviews to servicing instruments. So I want you to go to the channel, check out some of the other videos. It's been 2 years since this channel has hit YouTube, and I continuously try to get better, whether it's view angles or just the quality of the audio. Again, that's what the comment section's for. If you have a comment that you think I should change something in the video stuff, or maybe the sound quality, we're always about improving. But hopefully I've earned that subscription. You can go down and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and again, I want to thank everyone that has watched this video and that has posted a comment. In about 7 or 10 days, we'll have the next video. Thank you very much.